We're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 28 and Genesis chapter 10. Now there's a heretical group called the Black Hebrew Movement.
Oh, here we go.
And the Black Hebrew Movement, they consistently used Revelation chapter 1 and Deuteronomy 28 and a few other passages to prove that the Jews in the nation of Israel today, they are not the Jews spoken of in the Bible. They believe that the black people are the Jews spoken of in the Bible. Now that is actually very ludicrous. Throughout the past thousands of years of history, nobody thought that the black people were the Jews. They were pointing out the Jews in Israel. For the past years of history, everyone knew those were the people of the Jews. But their proof text is Deuteronomy chapter 28. So we're going to look at over here Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we're going to read verse 64. So their proof text in this is that because the Jews were a scattered people, and they were scattered from their homeland. So once they were scattered from their homeland, they went all over the world. So who's the only group of people that was scattered from their homeland and sent all over the world? Well, it's obviously the Jews in the nation of Israel, because they didn't have their homeland for over 1,000 years, so that's pretty obvious. But then the Black Hebrew Movement, their logic works this way, which is very ludicrous. They reason out that because there were slave ships happening, the slave ships took the black people from their homeland and they scattered them through all parts of the world, so they were the ones in fulfillment of this prophecy. But that's actually ludicrous. We'll look at verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. So you'll notice right here that they were scattered out. Not only that, look at the slave ships in verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So, because it gives this context of slavery, this should be black people. So the Black Hebrew Movement, they argue that the black people are the Jews. Why? Because they were the ones who were sold as slaves. That's the key. But the easy answer to this is, notice right here, you'll notice in the reading it says Egypt. Not only that, look at the other verses where it says in verse 64, serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. What would make more sense of a time period? Now think of a time period where it would make perfect sense where a group of people were sold as slaves in Egypt, where there were so many pagan gods, even names that they didn't hear about. Would that make more sense? Would that be more applicable during a time when the blacks were sold as slaves all around the world, or during the BCs, where all countries were fighting against each other, warring each other, and they all served all kinds of pagan images, especially Jews, and not only that, the Jews were always known to retreat into Egypt from their homeland. They also had communication quite often. Not only that, when the Jews lost their homeland, which is Babylon, where did they go? They went to Egypt. So we notice right here that it's going to make more sense. It's referring to the Jews of the Bible during that time period. It's not referring to the black people. Now what they're going to try to reason out is that it's referring to the black people. Why? Because ever since Jerusalem fell, when Rome destroyed the temple, they reason out that there is reasonable evidence that Josephus records that the Jews were sold off as slaves and they were scattered around the world. Yeah, that's true, but that doesn't prove that they were blacks. That was just common during Josephus' time, because ever since the BCs, the Jews in Israel always had that. The Black Hebrew Movement, they also argue that the Jews, once they were destroyed, with the Romans destroying the temple at Jerusalem, that there was a group of them that scattered into Ethiopia or into parts of Africa. Thus, that's where the black people claim their lineage came from the Jewish people. But the easy answer to debunk that is this, is that if you're thinking about the Jews during the ADs, where for over 1,000 years, the people knew who the Jews were. Especially during the Dark Ages, they knew who the Jews were that time. They didn't like those group of people. The church that time, which is the Catholic Church, they didn't like the Jews that time. And trust me, they weren't like black people that time. They knew who those Jews were. You got to realize this. Ever since Jerusalem fell, what did the Bible say in Deuteronomy 28? It's not just to Africa. They're all around the world. So you got to understand this. They were scattered all around the world, literally all around the world. The evidence is, just look throughout the medieval literature when they were talking about Jews. They were in their countries over there. They were in Africa. They were in all parts of the region. And not only that, there's where you get your infamous Khazar. So you've heard this, that they believe that the Jews in the nation of Israel, they're not real Jews. They are the Khazars who converted to Judaism. They were not real Jews. That's their claim. And they claim this because they have an Israeli geneticist who traced the genes, and through the genealogy, he points out, I think his last name is El Haik, I'm not sure, but this person graduated from Johns Hopkins University, and what he tried to prove is that these Jews came from the region of the Khazars where they were located. So these people are not real Jews. But the easy answer to debunk that is this, is that, remember, Jews were scattered everywhere. So if they did go to Ethiopia, and there are medieval sources that records Jews existed at that time in Europe, it would be obvious they were in that region as well. Why? Because they had no homeland until 1947 to 1948. Where did that group of people go to? They were scattered all over. That's why when Hitler had his Nazi persecution, the Holocaust, I mean, the Jews had no homeland to go to that time. They were what? Scattered all over. It should be that obvious. So if you do find some genes where you can trace them to this region right here where the Khazars are located, that should not be a surprise because the Bible predicted that. Now, not only that, what's interesting is that when you study genetics, this is something that they overlook. One, they're only looking at a couple geneticists. There are many more geneticists. There are a couple from Stanford who actually try to refute this. There are geneticists that disagree with each other. So just because you pick out a couple geneticists, that doesn't prove your theory. You got to look at all the sources. There are other geneticists that don't agree with it. Not only that, there's a historian named Stanford, and that person, he dug every historical source, and he's on the contrary side. He says he sees no historical evidence supporting this theory. He even challenged that too. He actually dared to give a challenge on that one. So if any of you out there want to claim the prize where that esteemed historian is wrong, go ahead and contact him, please. All right, go ahead and contact him. Make him look like a fool, please. To my knowledge, no one refuted him on that because he gave that challenge openly, and he's an esteemed historian. So you got to see both sides of the picture. Not only that, if you study geneticists, look, they're only looking at a group called Ashkenazi Jews. So because they only look at Ashkenazi, look at Genesis chapter 10. This is their proof that the Jews are not from Shem, that they're not real Jews. Because Genesis 10 shows that they came from Ashkenaz, which is Japheth. Thus, when you have Ashkenazi Jews, this supposedly proves that these Jews are not really the Jews. Look at Genesis chapter 10 and verse 2. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Madai and Javan, and Tubal and Meshach and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, who? Ashkenaz. See that? So supposedly that's where they get the word Ashkenazi. Now, There's not really solid proof on that one, but let's give them a break. Let's assume that's the case. It could be true for all I know. It could be true. But the easy answer to debunk it is this. Do we label all Jews Ashkenazi Jews? No. Look, there's another group called Sephardic Jews. Not only that, these Sephardic Jews, a lot of them are located in Israel. So just because you refute this, it does not deny this. Let's assume that the Ashkenazi Jews, that they are fake Jews, that they are Khazars. Let's just assume that. That doesn't deny the other Jews in Israel. You got the Sephardic Jews. By the way, they overlooked this in genetics. You know who's the closest group of people when they look through the gene pool with the Ashkenazi Jews? It's the Sephardic Jews. By the way, here's another thing they overlook. Just because, let's assume it did come from Japheth, it's not, we don't call them Ashkenazi, we call them what? Ashkenazi Jews. Why? Because these Jews were in Ashkenaz's region. They were all over, because remember, the Bible said the Jews were scattered all over. That's why there was a large number of Jews in that European region right there. And then Hitler, he slaughtered a mass millions of them. So this should not be difficult. This should not be difficult. The problem with people is that, see, they're only looking at a very biased point of view, where the Black Hebrew movement, what's very biased about them is that they're trying to look at a limited scope where it's only going to focus in an African region or the people of their slavery. They don't look at the overall historical scope where the Jews, they were in slavery, they were in different nations where they had pagan gods, and that would make more sense during that time period. Not only that, the Jews were scattered all over the world, so it wouldn't be a surprise they were in Africa. But hey, don't overlook the other historical sources where for over 1,000 years they were all around Europe. And it wouldn't be a surprise they were in this region too. So that's why you can find genetic proof that they came from this region. They are not true Jews from Israel. So the problem is this. The problem is they don't see Jews as scattered everywhere. When you see that, it fulfills Scripture. And when you look at verses, it proves more that the Jews in Israel, they are the real ones. It should be that obvious. It should be that obvious right there. I mean, just read medieval literature too. When you read medieval literature, what's very interesting is this. The first time Ashkenaz was mentioned to a Jew, it was during the time of the medieval era. You got to understand. And they knew them to be what? Jews. They were referring to them as Jews.